Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I thought that I would continue with this, like, adding you into my daily life, relaxed, chill kind of vlog style videos and show you what is in my postpartum basket for this new mama. So typically speaking, after a birth client gives birth to their baby, I will come and see them ideally within the first week postpartum. We always are keeping in close contact. Generally, I'll touch base with them every day to see how they're feeling, to see how their recovery is going, to see how nursing is going, if that's how they're planning on feeding their babies. As a lactation consultant, that's one of my special interests, but also general infant feeding, infant care, and maybe it's that transition to having 2 or more kids, or all of this is part of what I like to do. And so when I go to this postpartum visit, I thought it would be interesting for you guys to come along with me in what that looks like, but also in particular what I bring with me. So a postpartum visit can look like many different things. It might be a case of sitting down, having a cup of tea with the new mama, maybe doing a bit of debriefing, maybe doing some birth story listening. Maybe it's holding her while she cries. Maybe it's just giving space for worries, concerns, answering questions. Maybe mama's really tired, and so I will bring with me my baby wearing essentials. This is actually, I have all sorts of like favorite baby wearing things, but this one is actually just one from Amazon. It works beautifully. It is like a one-way stretchy wrap, so it doesn't stretch both ways. It only stretches one direction, which actually I quite like because it gives a bit more support. I'll see, can I link this particular one down below, but I've had it for like 6 years, so it's doing really well, and I wash this one after every single client. So this is my client specific wrap. So maybe I will wear baby while I'm doing a bit of housework, doing some light cleaning, maybe getting up to date on their laundry or their dishes. Maybe I'm doing some meal prep for them. Maybe I am just holding the baby and bring them for a little walk around the kitchen or the garden, or playing with the older child, or walking the dog while mama is having a nap or a shower. Maybe I am, so that's one thing that I will bring. Maybe I'm just playing with the older child for a little bit so that mum can give this new baby some undivided attention, or some undivided attention. So I like to bring an activity of some kind for the older kid. Sometimes it'll be storybooks, sometimes it'll be coloring books or a puzzle. These are also fantastic. These water magic, you can see they are well loved and used. These are by a company called Galt, and you literally can paint the pages, and then as it dries, it disappears. So these are really cool. We love these in our house as well. But a huge part of that big transition is being with the family, supporting them in where they're at and in what feels good to them for that particular visit. So I will always arrive. So typically I will have coordinated the visit, and then a few hours before the visit, I will say, hey, I'm just gathering some bits and pieces, getting ready to leave now. Are you craving anything? Is there anything in particular I can pick up on the way? And they will either say, yes, oh my gosh, I need some more pads. Or can you pick me up some juice? I'm feeling really thirsty. And I'll be like, yes, okay, so let me tailor that package for you. Or maybe they're saying, you know what, I really didn't get any sleep last night. I would love a nap. And I'm like, cool, okay, that's on my agenda. Or maybe mama's like, I would love just to have a shower in peace without those like phantom cries that their baby's crying. Or maybe they're worried about giving their baby their first bath, and so that's something that I will walk through with them. The visit can be anything from 1 hour to 3 hours, depending on the degree of support that the family has, but depending on how they're feeling, depending on how it's going. But I like to leave enough time for as many questions as the family have. I don't generally offer postpartum support as like a separate entity outside of my birth clients, but I know there are many who do. If you're in Ireland, you can look up the Doula Association of Ireland or Doula Care Ireland, and you can actually find who's in your area and look for some postpartum support that way. And doulas typically will support you right until your baby's the age of 1. So there's no like cut off per se if you are in that kind of infancy period in terms of like healing and all of that kind of thing. So there are 2 things that I bring. The next thing that I will bring is a meal of some kind. And so typically we're thinking about like, warming herbs, spices, soft, easy to digest foods that are high in fiber and high in protein. Protein being primary for, being really important for, you know, collagen production, for those like amino acids are really important for, as they are the building blocks for recovery, for postpartum healing. And so I make sure that the foods that I bring are really high in that. So sometimes it will be a curry, a stew, maybe a lentil dal if the family are veggie or vegan. Maybe it is, you know, some sort of a broth or a soup. You get the idea. In this particular scenario, I have made like a Mexican style curry with all sorts of lovely warming herbs and spices, and then like a cinnamon rice to go along the side. And I will bring all of the sides. So I like to think of things that are, you know, local, ideally organic, free range, all of that kind of stuff. So in this particular scenario, we've got cilantro from the garden. I've made like a nice kind of garlicky, yogurty dip. I've made a big batch of chili that should do them for like a few days. They can, if they've already planned a meal for this evening, they can just put it into the fridge or freezer for later. And then the rice to go alongside that. So, and some like chopped limes. So I will bring everything right from all those dishes to like the chopped limes. And I will bring them with me. And typically speaking, if I know I'm not going to be seeing that family again, I will just swap out my like Tupperware or pots and pans for their dishes. So I'm coming home with all of my stuff, particularly if the client's a bit further away. Other things I like to do is label everything. So I will always bring like a tea of some kind. So this is a postpartum tea or infusion that I've made. This particular one, Mama has had a little bit of blood loss, a little bit more than maybe would be considered normal or average. And so for this one, this is a postpartum blood builder, and I have nettle, which is amazing for building up Mama's iron, blood building, hibiscus, similar properties, lady's mantle, which is really lovely for postpartum recovery and helping with those kind of uterine contractions that happen when you're nursing your baby. I've got some lemon myrtle in here, some dandelion, because Mama's dealing with a little bit of postpartum edema and swelling and engorgement, and that helps to kind of flush all of that out. And then some honey to sweeten. So really yummy. This was still warm, so I will pour her out a cup of this. Or alternatively, if she's not in the mood for something a little bit sort of sweet and warming, I will give her some bone broth. So this particular bone broth I have made with seaweed for the iodine. You know, it's quite typical for me to see some thyroid dysfunction in a lot of mamas who haven't maybe been supported in the way I would like them to be supported postpartum. I also add in some apple cider vinegar. I like to add in some, I've got a really lovely supplement from Shinshir Supplements, which is like a liver or like an organ supplement. So I'll add a bit of that in. There's chicken, celery, onions, garlic, ginger. What else is in there? That's the basics for every single broth that I make. And it's lovely, just like warmed up and something for Mama to sip away on if she's struggling to get in some food. A really nice addition for a postpartum visit. And if Mama's like, I'm just so thirsty, and typically what happens if they're nursing their babies is we have this like huge surge of oxytocin as we have that letdown. And with that oxytocin surge, you get this almost like immediate insatiable hunger, but also thirst. And so I also like to add some sort of really thirst quenching drink. Sometimes I'll make some freshly juiced orange juice. Sometimes it's like a homemade lemonade. Sometimes it's like a carrot juice mixed with like orange or apple. Today, because it's the peak of summer, we've got so many roses at the moment. And so I added in a like homemade rose and elderflower lemonade, which has got like little rosebuds floating in the top, and it's so good. I actually have some of this in my fridge myself, so I'll be chugging on that on the way to visit this mama. I also have added in something for her bowels, and again, I label everything. So everything's got a little label for why we have it. I like to typically make a postpartum like prune puree. Sometimes I add figs into it, But when we have had a vaginal delivery in particular, but also a cesarean birth, we want to be avoiding straining. So we want to be really minding that lovely sling of muscles, that pelvic floor that has taken a little bit of battering with sort of holding up that gravid uterus, the weight of the gravid uterus with the amniotic fluid and the placenta and the baby, and really minimizing any sort of straining we have to do on the toilet. So when we're doing a poo, we want it to be smooth and soft and easy and gentle. So I've got some prune juice for easeful poops. So I generally advise half a cup of this with half a cup of like hot water on top. So it is warming, soothing, you get the idea, but also easier for digestion. So that is the prune juice. Alongside that, I like to add in a herbal sitz bath. This one I actually cannot remember what I put into it, but I will leave the ingredients list down below. I change it up depending on what mama's needs are. Generally, I like to add herbs only, and I don't add any like essential oils. The reason for that is because there is some evidence around everyone went mad a few years ago with essential oils, adding tea tree into their baths postpartum. And actually, particularly if there's any sort of second or third degree tearing or any stitching going on from an episiotomy, we were noticing and I suppose it impacting healing. So either there being like an over granulation of the wound where the body's going into sort of overdrive, sending out all this, new tissue to try and grow, and we were ending up with over granulation, or an earlier breakdown of any stitches or sutures that were done. So I like to just, for the soothing properties, add in the herbs and then some plain unscented Epsom salts. So this can be like a sitz bath, or if mama doesn't have access to a sitz bath or a bath to kind of rest her bottom in, you can buy ones that go and sit over your toilet seat. So that's really nice. I will link those down below as well if I can. Or really nice just in terms of the magnesium and the sort of restorative properties of magnesium, particularly for very sleep deprived or high cortisol, high stress level mamas, to do a foot bath, a foot soak. So while they're nursing their babies, I will bring them like a cup of herbal tea and they'll sit in there, have their foot bath, or maybe a little bit of a foot massage or a shoulder massage, something just to be a little bit of that giving touch. If we find that we've been holding our babies, being needed by our babies all day long, you need to be touched in a way that is giving back to you. So I try and add that in somewhere. So this is a nice little herbal sitz bath for tender bottoms, I have written on it. The next thing in thinking on that same train of thought for tender bottoms, I have made a little calendula oil from the calendula from our garden. Got some lovely calendula little pieces of petals floating in there. This is really nice for dry skin. So those babies who are like post dates tend to be a little bit more like wrinkly, dry old men and women. So that's really lovely if you're thinking about what to put on them. Generally, like lotions and potions nowadays have all sorts of extra ingredients, and this doesn't. This is primarily an unscented organic oil of some kind with the calendula in. So really soothing, really gentle, really nice for either dry postpartum skin, but also for nappy rash and things like that. So I use, I get my bottles from Amazon mostly. I'll try and link the ones that I normally buy down below, or if I have skincare, I'll like clean it out really, really well. And it's like a little dropper bottle, which is just lovely, like really easy control. So you're not like pouring it everywhere. Oil can be a bit finicky. And then the last two things that I wanted to talk about were something nice for your heart. So yes, lactation support, and we can add in things like maca powder or moringa or fenugreek, but really without knowing mama's history. I personally wouldn't be doing that. As a lactation consultant, I ask a really detailed history. We know what's going on with mama, and so I feel more comfortable doing that. That being said, if lactation isn't going according to plan, touching base with a lactation consultant is going to be the best place to start. So I don't generally like to make anything for lactation specific. However, today I have made some lactation brownies. These are just for your heart. These are beautiful, nutty, seedy, rich, cacao-based chocolate brownies that are just decadent and lovely and rich in all sorts of lovely nutrients and very helpful for milk supply for sure, but also really nice just for mama to feel really minded and nourished and loved on. So I've made some of those chocolate brownies. I'll leave the recipes for any of the food things that I've made today, although I do tend to go by eye, so not always totally accurate recipes. And the last thing that I wanted to mention then was this book. This book, it has taken me a very long time to actually get this book, but if you are totally starting out and you are unsure what to cook for your new mamas, if you're unsure what to make for them, what is going to be helpful for them, how you can hold space for them and support them in a way that is really holistic and mama-centered or family-centered, will I say? This book is fantastic. This is The First 40 Days, The Essential Art of Nourishing the New Mother, and it's just beautiful. It's all based on the sort of postpartum support that we have been offering culturally around the world, and inspired in particular by Asian postpartum support, which is all based on this idea of rest in the first 40 days after having your baby, as we are healing and recovering, and really gorgeous. They also have one for fertility, and it's got some lovely like recipes at the back if you're unsure what to cook. Got some like lovely sweet dishes like spiced vanilla egg custards, broths, infusions, brews, teas, deluxe drinks, body products, all sorts of lovely yummy bits. So really nice if you are planning your own postpartum, and if you are a postpartum doula or doing your postpartum visits as a birth doula like I am. So that is what I'm doing today. I'm going to head now in the next half an hour and go spend some time with this mama. Hopefully she will leave feeling a little bit lighter, a little bit more held in this new postpartum space when your hearts are just like blowing open. And I hope you enjoy this video. I will also leave the link down below to a friend and colleague of mine who offers really holistic, sort of innate tradition style postpartum support. And Katie has written a beautiful ebook on the first 40 days and how you can kind of, is a really beautiful breakdown on how you can really access the supports that you need and have a really nourishing postpartum experience. I will leave the link to her little ebook down below. I personally really enjoyed it when she sent it to me, and I thought it might be a nice addition to you. If you are trying to plan your postpartum, I also have a free postpartum planning guide that is not quite this bedside book. It's not an ebook. It's like a postpartum planning, like, you know, you make your birth plan, it's your postpartum plan. So sit down with your partner, sit down with your support team, make sure you have these bits and pieces ready, written out, easy to access, so that you don't have to do any thinking when your baby actually arrives and you can really just rest and nourish yourself. Okay, I keep waffling. Thank you so much for joining this video. Typically I talk about things relating to trying to conceive, pregnancy, birth preparation, postpartum, breastfeeding and motherhood. So if you're interested in that kind of content, do hit that little subscribe button and the notification bell. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a like, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.